Alright, part 3 of the Refex presentation, Refreshable Excel workbooks. We're getting data from Microsoft Dynamics GP using a stored procedure that has 32 parameters. And we're to the point where we're putting in values for the parameters so that the Microsoft query can work. I put in the first parameter, which is the aging date. And here I see the names of all the parameters here, and I've got them numbered so that I can match them up with my dialog boxes as they come, one right after the other. All right, so let's go on to number 2. Number 2 is a starting number. It's a character field. I'm going to put a space for the first one, and then I'm going to put 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Z's for the value of the second parameter. That's so we get everything. I just highlighted that row of 10 Z's and I copied it because I'm going to use it for the ending portion of a lot of these parameters here. Every one that you see end, I'm going to use that row of Z's as the parameter value. Parameter 4, starting customer name. I'm going to press the space bar for the starting customer and Control V for the ending customer. Parameter 6 is the starting class ID. Space, enter. Control V, enter. Parameter 8 is the salesperson ID to start with. Space for the first one, Control V, Z's for the ending. Parameter 10 is the sales territory. Space for the start, Control V for the end. Parameter 12 is the short name, space, Control V, enter. Parameter 14 is the starting state. I'll put a space and then a Control V for the ending parameter. But notice here, the state has a length of 5 characters. Now, if I just went ahead and I left this at 10 and went through all the rest of the 32 parameters and then said to Microsoft Query, okay, give me some data, it would choke because it would know that this parameter is too long. So, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to give it a maximum of 5 Z's as the ending state parameter. Great, let's go on. Parameter 16 is the starting zip code. Space for the start, Control V, 10 Z's for the end. The zip code has a length of 11, so I'm good. 10 of 11 is fine. Parameter 18 is the starting phone number. And then the 10 Z's for the ending. Parameter 20 is the user-defined field. And then a row of Z's for the ending. Now, parameter 22 is where we change to a tiny int. That's a yes or no field, a 0 or a 1. And the parameter is using document date. If I use a 1, that means yes, use the document date to do the aging. Or a 0 means use the general ledger posting date. That's what we're going to use in this case, is the general ledger posting date. Parameter 23 is the start date and the end date, that's parameter 24, for the transactions that we're interested in. For example, if you've been using GP a long time, years and years, you'll have a lot of historical data. But you don't need to be concerned about that. You really only need to be concerned about transactions as far back as your oldest open invoice. So if you have 10 years worth of history, you don't want to go back to the beginning because it'll sift through everything. It'll make the query take longer. So the starting date is the starting date for the invoices that you're interested in, and the date that it's referring to, the start date, is based on this use document date field. We told it to use the general ledger date. Okay, but for our purposes, I'm going to go back to, say, the year I don't know, 2010. So again, I put the date in this form, 01. You know, if you've used GP for any length of time, that the beginning of time for GP is 1900-01-01. We're going to go start with 2010. Parameter 24 is the ending date, and normally it makes the most sense to use the same date as your aging date. We used the date of February 1st as our aging date, and then we go on. Parameter 25 is a small integer, so it's asking what balance types to include. You have two of them. There's open and there's balance forward, and the numeric code that's used is 0 means give me both. 1 gives me just the open type balances, and 2 means give me just the balance forward type balances. We're going to type in a 0 to use both. Parameter 26 starts the exclude parameters. Do we want to exclude customers with no activity? Sure, let's forget about them. Do we want to, parameter 27, exclude multi-currency? For those of you that use multi-currency, I'm not going to address that here. That's an extra kettle of fish, which we're not going to deal with today. So I'm going to exclude multi-currency. 1 means yes to exclude. 0 means no, don't exclude or include. Parameter 28 is exclude zero balance customers. I'm going to say yes. I don't care about the zero balance customers right now. And by the way, that means zero current balance, not zero balance as of the aging date we're talking about. It means zero current balance. Parameter 29 is exclude fully paid transactions. Yeah, I don't want to see that extra detail on my report. If I have an invoice for 100 and a payment for 100, and they can't, they credit debit each other out, I don't want to see that on this report, so I want to exclude those. Parameter 30 is exclude a credit balance. Now let's see what that looks like. If what customers have we got where there is a credit balance? We maybe have a credit memo that we haven't applied yet to any new invoices. Parameter 31 is exclude unposted applied credit documents. That means credits that are sitting in the working table that haven't been applied or posted. I think they've been applied but not posted. I'm not sure which, but I'm going to exclude them for right now. Not that that's a big deal with the sample data, but some of this is worth playing with. And the nice thing is that this will allow you to do so in an Excel workbook form. Finally, parameter 32, consolidate the national account activity. Okay, fine, let's consolidate that. And now I'm going to click OK, and because I've done this many times, I was confident that I'd see data. Here we go. What we're going to do now is something that's a little non-intuitive, because it looks like something that needs to be saved. Here's a file, save as, right? We don't need to, because Excel will keep track of all of our parameters, and when I click the close box, it's ready to go. We get a new window here, dialog box, that asks us where do we want to put the data in the workbook. I had already placed the cursor at cell A3, and there aren't really any choices here. Table is my only choice. Putting it into an existing worksheet, and I'm going to click OK, and it's querying the data, and since it's Fabricam, there's not much there. It doesn't take very long to come up. So the aging date that I used was actually February 1st. This date that you see here is the one that exists on the Parameters tab, which, by the way, I'm going to rename so that it says Parameters. And then here, I'm going to rename this to HA I have a ergonomic keyboard. And that's as far as we're going to go right now. We're going to continue. I'm going to show you how to set up the rest of this parameters tab next, and we're also going to show you how to set up the pivot table. But that'll be in part 4.